to the planet Jupiter and leaving Earth-sized kind of craters, if you like, in the atmosphere. Not craters as such, but Earth-like sized scars. And the Earth would have stand a chance. But the fact that the Earth may have been moved, may have somehow got slightly closer or further away from the Sun, is a very serious theory that scientists are considering about how the Ice Age happened. The only thing is, they're not quite sure what could have moved the Earth. But there are many things that are really strange, though, coincidences that some people may think, well, that's a bit odd. It's almost like a sign from aliens. And that is, no other planet in our solar system has got a moon that does eclipses. There's hundreds of moons around lots of different planets. But from the Earth, when you see the moon, it is virtually exactly the same size in the sky, appears to be, as the Sun, which is why we can have eclipses.
Yep.
And if the moon wasn't in that exact position it's in, the Earth's orbit wouldn't, at least the Earth's axis wouldn't be stable enough, probably, for there ever to be any complex life existing in the first place. And the moon itself only came into existence, and this is what geologists think now, because something the size of Mars did crash into Earth before there was life here, flung up this huge great blob of molten stuff that turned into the Earth, turned into the moon. If that hadn't happened, there probably would be no life here at all.
That's a good point. Let's go to John in Florida before the break. Go ahead, John.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I've got an object that my grandfather knew Alexander Crowley, real Aleister Crowley.
Yeah.
And actually, George actually had him up in Detroit at one time. I don't know if you know that or not. Because
I had heard that.
Yeah, he wanted to go ahead and be a 32nd degree Mason instantly, which my grandfather was. So he took him back to Toledo, and that's what they did. But before he died, my grandfather went over there to see him. And Crowley gave him this lid that's engraved in qualum zani with the wall of Persepolis that has Toph, putting the, Darius and Toph fighting. It's a piece of artwork with a disc, a solid brass disc with 32 rays on a stand. I believe they burnt incense on it. I'll get to the end real quick. I had it, a long time. My wife hated it. I threw it away 30 years ago. Well, 10 years ago, we moved, and it's in a box, okay? Now, how in the world it got in a box? So I'll get to the end of the story. She doesn't want it. I sold it to some guy from OTO out of St. Petersburg, and he pulls up in this most white cloth with chain. I didn't let him in the house, he's got a robe on. He paid me quite a bit for it. 2 weeks later, he comes back. Him come in, he says, I don't want to ever see this thing again. Let me know what it is. It's never given me any problems. But it's just, I have no idea. I mean, I know it belongs to Crowley. I know he had to burn incense on it. And when you see it, you're going to say, what in the world is this? Is there any way that Graham would know anything about that?
I'm not sure. Graham, do you know anything about evil artifacts?
Not really. Anything I've been looking for are all biblical things or things that are supposed to be good. However, the very first book I ever wrote was called The Green Stone, which was about a stone that seemed to have a curse on it, because we worked for a magazine called Strange Phenomena. I was the editor. We got onto this stone. I won't go into the details, but when it was brought back to the offices of the magazine, light started fusing.
That reminds me of a Ouija board. Graham, we got to hit this break. We'll come back and wrap things up with you. And welcome back to Coast, George Noory, along with Graham Phillips, as we wrap things up. Graham, what's your next project? What are you working on now?
I'm taking a bit of a rest. I may go back to searching for the Ark of the Covenant. I wrote a book called Templars and the Ark of the Covenant some years back, and I did a lot of, I uncovered a lot of information about where the Ark, one of those two arks I was mentioning earlier, may have ended up. And there is some evidence that a group of Knights Templars brought it back to Britain and hid it somewhere, so I may continue to investigate that.
Oh, good for you. You do a great job investigating with what you do. You know that. We got to get you back to talk about your Lost Tomb of King Arthur. That was a great book you wrote back in 2016.
Oh yeah, I mean, the King Arthur is probably the mystery I've investigated more than any other, and I do believe that I have managed to locate his tomb, and it's a case now of persuading the archaeologists. Archaeologists have actually looked there, they've done some ground scanning radar, and they know there's something there that could be a tomb of a person that lived when Arthur is said to have lived. All I've got to do now is to persuade them to dig.
Could be dramatic indeed. But Graham, thank you for being on the program. Keep in touch, and let's get you back again. Now, for some people, by the way, demons and entities are a problem. If you need a clearing, there's no better one than the spiritual warrior Bill Bean, who will be one of our guests in our live show in Columbus on October 14th.
Bill, let's talk about that other case of possession that is in the book, The Connection, if you would, please.
Absolutely. And George, I'd like to, if we have a moment after that, I'd like to mention briefly a couple recent ones that I feel you would probably be very interested in hearing about.
Absolutely.
But let me speak about this really quickly. This one took place on March 31st, 2018 in Orlando, Florida. And I arrived at the home, and you know, George, usually I can feel, and again, I don't claim to be anything, but God does give me a knowing of things. He has bestowed gifts, I'll say it that way, upon me. And I could sense evil right away, you know, pulling up and getting out of the rental car. And as I'm walking up the walkway, you know, I could sense it. I could feel evil present. And it was a very nice family, and the lady of the house was the one being affected. And she too had some suffering in her childhood, and she was exposed to Santeria curses, which is, you know, it's like a Caribbean voodoo. And so she had exposure to that and was victimized by that as a child. And so she had been having on and off bouts of what she believed was demonic possession over the years. I think it was just a strong oppression that eventually did turn into a possession. And I didn't even think that until it was time to perform the deliverance. So I'm sitting there with her and her husband, very nice lady, he's a very nice man, met the kids, everything seemed well between all of them. We're talking, and the more we talked, the closer it was getting to the time at hand of the deliverance. So I asked her husband to go up and fill the tub, that I was going to ask her to stand in the water. I was going to bless the water first. I was going to ask her to stand in that water, and I was going to perform the deliverance over her while she was standing in that blessed holy water. So everything was going according to plan until we got into the bathroom. When it was time for her, after I said the prayer, and I could notice when we were going up the steps, her body language, you know, she was changing, and she was becoming nervous and apprehensive, and, you know, and again, you think, okay, well, this person's going to be a little nervous. I mean, something like this is about to happen. You know, they're going to be disturbed by it. So I'm blessing the water, and now it's time for her to get in. And all of a sudden, George, it takes her over, and it becomes a physical struggle. And her husband, he was right there, and he did assist me. He stayed right there with me, and we had to physically subdue her and get her into the tub. And my goodness, was it ever a struggle. Same thing, spitting on me, trying to bite me. Her eyes changed to black. There were voices coming out of her, and her tongue looked like it was like a serpent. It was coming out and going all over the place. It was just unfathomable. And then she started, it wasn't her, it was those demonic entities in her. They were screeching and screaming. I can't believe that the neighbors didn't call the police. That's how loud this was. And so, again, I had to be unwavering in, what God was having me to do. And I continued, even with that screeching, and I continued to take power and authority over it. Every time I did that, it would stop, and then it would start back up again. So this was a battle back and forth for quite a while. And to make a long story short, God did work through me to deliver her from it. And when she was delivered, she vomited everywhere. And that happens sometimes, George. She comes up through the mouth like that. And after that happened, she was delivered. And then, God bless her husband. He cleaned all of that up, and we had to put fresh water in there.
Sure.
And I re-blessed the water and then baptized her in that. And she's been great ever since, thank God. But let me tell you, I will never, ever forget that day.
And it seems like she was calm, and then something really kicked her into high gear. What would have done that?
I think what it was is the entities knew it was time for eviction.
Aha.
So when it's time for eviction, they're going to hold on and fight with everything that they have because they don't want to go.
They were fighting you.
Yes, they have a host body, and that's what they want. And when they can get into a person like that and have that level of control, they don't want to go anywhere. So I am definitely, a mortal enemy to these demonic forces. And again, it's by the power of God that I'm even still alive, George, because I believe that if the devil would have had his way, he'd have killed me a long time
See,
ago.
that's
By the power of God, I'm still alive.
That's what I asked you, if you've ever been attacked or hurt. You've been very fortunate.
Yes, absolutely.
Can we say you were lucky?
Well, I would say blessed. I'm definitely under God's full blessing, and I am not perfect. I don't claim to be perfect. I try to do the best that I could do and be the best that I could be each and every day of my life, because I have to be somebody to and for somebody every day of my life. So I can't let down. And so I thank God and praise God for that. And I will say this as well, that my life is 50 times more blessed than it's ever been cursed. And I could never thank God and praise God enough for that.
Let's talk about a couple other little cases you had mentioned, then we'll get into the Mandela effect, and then we'll take calls with you. What other cases did you happen to have?
I want to talk with you about something that took place on November 18th, this 2018. And your webmaster has it posted on the Coast to Coast site, a couple of those photographs. And this took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And this took place at the home of a family that I had already helped. I'd previously been there. I love them dearly. They're like family to me now. And I feel that way about all my clients. After this is over with, I try to be there for them and do anything that I can for them, and always be there and somebody that could comfort them and help them to move forward. So this is Anita Tenzo and her son Chris Levis. Great people. Anyway, they started having problems again, and they asked if I could come back, which I did. And again, I sensed the presence of evil when I entered into the home, really walking up the walkway as well, but I entered in. Now, usually, George, I would never ask someone to do this because most people, they don't want to document. They don't want to take photographs. They don't want video. They're very embarrassed and ashamed by it. They don't want people to know it. But on this occasion, I felt that God was urging me to say to Chris, I want you to stand behind me as I'm going through this house. And they had had severe demonic problems in the past, and God worked through me to deliver them and to get rid of the garbage out of the home, and somehow it did come back in. And so I asked Chris, I said, I want you to walk behind me as I'm going through the house and just take random photographs. I really believe that you're going to capture some things in these photographs. And so, sure enough, he captured many images, two that I believe to be divine, angels, and then the rest I believe to be demonic. And one in particular, which is on your Coast to Coast website, was this face. And I mean, it's very clear. It's very clearly defined. It looks like a demonic entity, and if you look closer at it, it looks like fangs.
Oh, it's horrible looking. It's horrible. Yeah.
Yep, out of the right side of the mouth. And so this was in the basement of the home.
It looks like Frankenstein, the face, doesn't it?
Exactly, George. Exactly. And I mean, that's one of the most defined pictures that I've ever seen of what I believe to be a demon. And so I was drawn over to the chimney area, and part of that house was built in the 1800s. And there was like a little potbelly stove connected to this chimney area, down in the basement. And it was a block wall. And I felt that there was a portal there. So this is something that I didn't discuss with you earlier that I should have, is that not only do I have to, by the power of God, bind and rebuke and cast out demonic forces, but I also have to close the portals as well. Because there are portals everywhere.
That's not easy.
Things travel. No, it's not. And so I'm standing there in front of this block wall where God had led me to, where I believed a large portal was. And I'm binding and rebuking and closing the portal. And as I'm doing this, George, just as you're hearing my voice now, this groan, growl type of thing came out from within the block wall. Anita and Chris were standing right there with me. We all heard it clearly. And so after hearing that, I had to jump right back into action and take power and authority and bind and rebuke and cast out. And then it departed. But it was, again, something that you and the listeners, you'd have to be there to see it and hear it for yourself to truly understand and appreciate what I'm saying.
Let's take a few calls here for you, Bill, and we'll come back and talk more about these events and the Mandela effect as well. Let's go to Colleen in Red Bluff, California to get things started. Hi, Colleen.
Hi, George. Thank you, I think, for taking my call. I'm actually kind of really nervous. I was married for a long time to an abusive man, and there were many times, just to cut it short, abused verbally, physically, mentally, whatever, and sexually. And I can distinctly remember at least 3 or 4 times where I saw the face of Satan while he would be raping me and choking me, and I would have fought him off physically as hard as I could, and I was strong back then, and I mean, I would be sweating just out of energy trying to fight him off, and I feel like I've been stuck, and I don't know if there's residual effects from that or whatever, but I know.
Do you feel possessed?
I don't know if I feel possessed, because I'm a single mom, 4 kids, raised them all, worked hard.
And where is he? He's done. He's gone, right?
He died, yeah.
He died.
About 3.5 years ago. But we were divorced a long, long time ago. But, God has been amazing in letting me raise my kids and everything that we went through. I mean, it's the closest things. But personally, I just feel like I just not worthy. I don't know.
Well, let's bring the expert in to talk with you. Bill, go ahead.
And I'm very sorry that you've suffered in the way that you have. And I want you to know that God does love you, and God is with you, and God is for you. And I think it's time for you to start a new chapter, new season in your life, making God first in your life and have a real connection with Him, and allow Him to find someone to help you with this type of spiritual, and this would be more of a spiritual cleansing for you. And I would also recommend that you be rebaptized as well, and start a new chapter and a new season in peace, freedom, and victory. I want you to look forward and never look back.
Okay.
And you can get a hold of Bill through his website, Colleen, billbean.net, linked up at coasttocoastam.com.
That's it. And God bless you. And if I can be of any assistance in any way, please, like George said, he just gave you the website. Don't hesitate.
Let's go to Ed in Hemp Hill, Texas. Ed, welcome to the program.
George, it's such an honor to talk to you.
Thank you, Ed.
And Bill, when I was 9 years old, my mother went to Kmart and bought a Ouija board.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy.
And
You thought it was a game, right?
that was a game, yeah. And my brother, me and my brother played it. He was 3 years older than me, he's 12. He died at 25 years old.
Oh my.
And everybody in my family, except my father, he's 82, has died.
I'm very sorry to hear that.
Do you think a lot of it was tied to that Ouija board, Ed?
I think everything was tied to it.
Anything happened that you could recollect for us when you were playing it? And how many times did you and your brother use the board?
No, we mess with it every day.
Every day. Oh my goodness.
Every day.
It's a portal, Bill, isn't it?
It sure is. For Dan Galante, Tom Danheiser, Lisa Lyon, Lex Lonehood, Sean Montessor, Stephanie Smith, Chris Burrows, Tim Banal, Ryan Stacy, Ian Punnett, and George Knapp, I'm George Norrie, somewhere out there on Coast to Coast AM. We'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safe, everyone. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you. Dr. Sam is with us. He is live in Bosnia. Dr. Sam, let's let you finish up that statement from Ed and Charlotte and his questions. You talk about water possibilities, and that it's almost like the power of lords in France, isn't it?
Well, what we do science, Joe. Now, besides the fact that our water does not contain any microbes which are harmful for us, it has perfect pH, 7.45 as the pH of our blood. It's vital. When we sent samples to the lake, Dr. Masaru water in Japan, 9 years back, our water had perfect hexagonal structure. It's a beautiful crystal-like structure. It was, you could say, alive. And when we think about our life, like Tesla said, is about the energy, frequency, and vibration. Our project is not about archaeology, but very specific things and very high vibration. It's a unique combination of archaeology, science, spirituality, healing, and finally, we purchased more than 1 million square feet of neglected land near the tunnel, and we turned it into one of the most beautiful parks in Europe, which has become the cultural oasis for Balkan and European region, with festivals and the top quality sport event. Novak Djokovic has his tennis court in our park. And finally, our project is open for the volunteers from all over the world. In the last 14 years, we have had 3,750 volunteers from 64 countries, making this project the most open project in the world. Anyone can apply from 8 to 84 years old. Our website, BosnianPyramids.ba. They can come, they can walk, they can visit, they can become part of this most exciting archaeological story of our time.
Good for you. Let's go to final calls. Let's go to Judy in Indiana. First time caller. Hi, Jude. Go ahead. Judy, you with us? Nope, she has departed. But let us try Mary in New Jersey. Go ahead, Mary.
Hello, George. Hello, Dr. Sam.
Hi.
I have two questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The first one is about the temperature of the air and the water, regardless of the season. Are they steady temperatures? That when you're down under there.
It's always the same, yeah.
Pardon?
You with us, Sam? Go ahead.
Yeah, the temperature in the tunnel is always the same, all through the atmosphere. It is 12.5 degrees Celsius. It's very pleasant during the winter time, and the freezing temperatures out there, it's really nice and comfortable. During the winter time and hot temperatures, it's very refreshing inside. The perfect temperature to store the food, for example. The temperature of the water, or 5 sources of the water, is a little bit less. 11 degrees, also perfect temperature. And the water is crystal clear and clean.
Can you bathe in it or swim in it?
Well, they are not so big. Plus, what we do, we bottle that water. It's high vibrating water. What you can do, you can put a few drops in, let's say, 1 liter of our city water or some other fresh water and so on. Keep it overnight in our homes, in a glass bottles. By the morning, since the pyramid water has the superior information, then the whole bottle of the water starts vibrating higher. That's amazing, and then you can use that water and drink.
Mary, let's go back for your second question. Go ahead.
I caught the 2 names, the sun and the moon pyramid. You said there were 6. I didn't catch the other 4 names.
Yes. The sun and the moon pyramid, I named them back in 2005. There is a very intriguing astronomical phenomenon between the two, which I explained. The shadow of the sun completely covers the moon pyramid during the hot summer. Now the third one, the pyramid of dragons. You know, as dragons in Bosnia, a dragon is the symbol for the knowledge. Mexico, China, Peru. So I gave my respect to the knowledgeable builders. The fourth one, Temple of Mother Earth. Earth is our mother. It's just, we don't behave like that. We behave like we are the conqueror of our planet. So I wanted to show people, hey, we need to respect our mother. The fifth one, the Pyramid of Love. It's the only pyramid in the world with such name. Why love? Because love, not only in our planetary sense, but in the cosmic sense, that's the most powerful process, the binding material between the people, between the living beings, and everything is alive. All 4 kingdoms on our planet are alive. The mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, the animal kingdom, and the human kingdom. And the 6th pyramid has exactly the same name, the 6th pyramid. We don't have any other names so far. Interestingly enough, Sun, Moon, Dragon on one side, Equilateral Triangle, and on the other one, Sun, Moon, and the 6th pyramid, Equilateral Triangle.
Dr. Sam, we're still trying to figure out how they built the pyramids in Egypt. Have you figured out how they built them in Bosnia?
Well, 5 questions in our job. The first one is what? In our case, we know it's a pyramid complex. The second one is who. Well, we exactly don't know who. We don't have enough scientific proof, but indirectly we can say there are very advanced civilizations who knew very certain and very specific frequencies and how to use them in the real life. Number 3, when 29,200 years, which is radiocarbon days. However, the calendar or calibrated age is 14% more, which is 33,600 years. Number 4, how? Well, we can see the concrete, which is the best quality. They had their way to change the molecular structure. In our case, what we do, we use pressure, we use, high temperature and so on. How did they do it? Very hard to say. How did they move it? Well, the way we do it, we fight gravitational force with even bigger force. We make cranes. If block is 100 tons, we make a crane which is 200 ton capacity. So this is rather primitive, rather crude way to fight gravity. Imagine if you can find a way, maybe, to find the proper frequency of either electromagnetism or ultrasound, which can neutralize gravitational force. That would be much easier. And then to transport it using levitation, simply extend from one place to another. And the 5th question in archaeology is, of course, the purpose, why, and it seems that we've done the most in that particular aspect. We've been measuring so many benefits of pyramids. The water was one that we discussed. Food also. George, we did an experiment with the seeds of beans. What we did, we put,
And they must have, and I bet they grew.
We put seeds in, I'll be very brief. Seeds of beans in one bag, keep it at home as a control group. One bag in the tunnels, one bag on the top of the sun pyramid. After 14 days, without checking the Germanization process. 60% of control group started growing. 100% from the seeds exposed to the pyramid energy. The top of the sun pyramid in the tunnels started growing. 100%. The bean season is from May till beginning of September, and we notice that the pyramid seeds grow 2 to 3 times quicker, richer, and healthier. This is pyramid energy.
Let's go to Joe in Monterey, California. Joseph, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, George. Sam, you do an incredible amount of work, but you never asked the question, why did they build it? And it seems to me that it may be a communication device between planets or a culture or the far distance to see what's going on with the planet and life on it, to monitor it, to see if the planet's life cycle, to get information as much as they can galactically. And, of course, if the planet is in trouble, maybe they could do something about it. Thank you, George. Oh, by the way, is there much UFO activity around these pyramids? And have you ever done any experiments with people in the pyramids, different pyramids, communicating telepathically? And does it raise the intelligence of a person? Thank you, George.
Go ahead, Sam.
Well, thank you, George. And as far as the UFO activities, there are reports from 1948 in the local newspapers about those vehicles hovering about the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. While using Colville's technology back in 2007, Harry also himself that he was filming the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. Basically, what you do, you can see energy fields that are not visible to the naked human eye. So what we could see was the energy signature, oval shape, different signature, and the other energy field going towards the top of the sun pyramid and disappearing, and after a few moments coming back. So there are some very interesting things. Now, about the communication, we have measured the direction of the energy beam. First we thought probably at 90% to the sky, but it was not. In the morning, it was more to the east. In the afternoon, west. What does that mean? It means that it follows the path of our sun. Is it possible that our planet communicates with our sun? It is possible. Is it possible that it uses the sun as the cosmic gate to communicate with other solar systems? Well, it is possible. And other star constellations and other galaxies, it is possible. But then, the energy flow, the communication flow is never one-sided. The pyramid is the transmitter, but at the same time, the pyramid is antenna. It receives the information. So if we have this two flow of information, then you have base for the cosmic internet.
Daniel's with us in Florida. Daniel, go ahead, sir.
Hi there, George. Thank you so much. This is a fantastic topic, and I like how it ties in geometry, the sacred geometries. And I wonder, Dr. Osman Galik, I'm misunderstanding the name, but thank you so much, Dr. Sam. I'm sorry?
Yeah, Dr. Sam Osmanagic.
Osman Galik.
Let's call him Dr. Sam, Danny.
Dr. Sam, thank you. The disconnect, I like that you acknowledge the disconnect from our understanding, and that maybe the ancients, and it's a type of curse that we misunderstand what these big structures, the pyramids, are, that it's not ubiquitous knowledge to everybody. And I'm curious about what mistake it was that we might have made to be considered the younger brother to the elders that know we need to research very hard to understand these things, that it's somewhat of our curse, that machinery and extracting oil and the gold of the earth, which might be considered to be the blood of the earth, to some of the ancients that don't wear shoes, they want to be connected. And I wonder about the artifacts. Are there more artifacts associated with Bosnia and how they tie in with ancient civilization or out of this world? Because I've recently heard of one in down in South America where there are artifacts being dug up, and if they find gold, they don't mind destroying the artifacts, these looters. But how it ties in some of the detailed illustrations that are primitive man could have made, that like it's laser accurate illustrations with aliens. So the blood of the earth, misunderstanding like a curse, the geometry and how it ties in with what they call the mamas or the priests in Colombia, in some of these like the lost cities and other unknown areas. Thank you so much for your research into this interesting topic, Sam and George.
Thank you, Daniel. Interesting question, Sam.
Thank you, Daniel. Actually, there are a few questions. What is the sacred geometry? What are the elements of sacred geometry? First, equilateral triangle. Why? 3 points in the space you can connect in unlimited ways, but only one way gives you perfect equilateral triangle with the same length of sides, 3 times inner angle at 60 degrees. And that's exactly what we have in Bosnia 2 times. Sun, Moon, Dragon Pyramid, Sun, Moon, and the 6 pyramids. The second one is hexagon. The next one is number 5, 3.14. The next one is number 3, border section, 1.618. All these elements are incorporated when Bosnian pyramids were built. Why is that important? If you have elements of sacred geometry, you have the movement of the energy. And that's one thing that mainstream or majority of independent researchers do not know. Movement of the energy, everything was about the energy for the ancient builders. The next question, why this connection? Well, the answer is very simple. Those who control the history control the present. They have the monopoly on knowledge. Instead of knowledge, which is the pyramids are the cultural heritage of the planet, instead of heritage belonging to all of us, unfortunately they belong to the elites. Which elites? The beginning, a couple of hundred years back, English, French, today German and American. Very small group of people, not stuff, they decided it is not good for the humanity, the rest of humanity, to know about those features of the pyramids. Imagine that you have really, you mentioned the energy also, that you have clean and unlimited and free energy. Everything would change. We would not have, oil, gas transportation. We would not have usage of coal or nuclear energy. We would not have the transportation, huge tankers, no refineries, no petrochemical industry, no chemical industry, no plastics, no car industry as we know it today, no food industry with the additives, no drink industry. So our world would change. The old world would collapse and we would be headed towards the social equality, just the matter of energy. Instead, what we have all thermal power, we have all gas, nuclear, we have very expensive energy, which is limited and which contaminates our space. So, the question of the energy, the ancient would solve much, in a much better way, much more efficient way, and much cleaner way. As far as the artifacts, in one of the tunnels, which we call Rame 3, so we have Rame tunnel, Rame 2, Rame 3, 4, 5, and so on, we discovered 3,300 artifacts from different time periods, as recent as the late Middle Age, early Middle Age, Byzantine times, ancient Roman times, Neolithic times. So some of the tunnels, some of the open sections are obviously used, not recently last 2,000 years. Mostly, these are ceramic pieces or some metal pieces. But it tells us that some of the parts of the tunnels are open, even though majority of them are filled.
They're all over the place, Sam. They're all over the place. We're going to come back and wrap things up next on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. George Noory with you, Dr. Sam with us as we've been talking about the Bosnian pyramids and just remarkable what's happening out there, where the energy comes from and everything else. If you're interested in more, go to globalpyramidconference.com. It's a major event that he's got going, globalpyramidconference.com. And Dr. Sam, thank you for being on the program. Keep in touch with us and be safe out there in Bosnia. Now, they say that when words fail, music speaks. Music historian Harvey Kubernik knows this more than anybody else. Harvey, welcome. I'm looking forward to this tonight.
Hey, George. Delighted to be here.
Lots to talk with you about. And, of course, your incredible book, Jimi Hendrix, Voodoo Child. What a tragic ending to a very talented young man, huh?
You know, the focus, sadly, has been on the ending. I think, you know, hopefully we can try to look at the whole journey. You know, art functions as an extension of ourselves, and his art is an extension of himself, and it sure resonates with all of us.
Harvey, somebody who knew Jimi Hendrix, of course, was the great Billy F. Gibbons from ZZ Top, and Billy, of course, is a avid listener of the show, and he's with us right now. Reverend, welcome, Billy.
George, you guys are touching upon the good spot, and when we come to Jimi Hendrix, nothing needs to be said more than wow.
What a talented guy. How often did you come across Hendrix in your career, Billy?
Well, we were playing with right before ZZ Top. I was working with the group, the Moving Sidewalks, and we got a phone call that said, "Hey, Can you guys join up this new tour called the Jimi Hendrix Experience?" And of course, I stumbled across that first record, Our Experience, and from there it went. I had the really good fortune to become good friends with Jimmy. Is not only a great guitar player, but a great guy.
When you heard about his death in 1970, Billy, do you remember where you might have been?
Yeah, we were in. We started off in Texas, and we wound up following the tour all the way to the West Coast.
Well, that's something else. Billy, thanks. I know you're very busy, my friend. Be well. Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top. That's quite a little treat, Harvey, huh?
It makes me want to move to Houston.
Yeah, exactly. Those great. Those guys. We lost Dusty Hill last year, but what a great group. They're still playing. They're still playing indeed. So let's talk a little bit more about Jimi Hendrix and then move on to some of the music in the 60s. You say that he spotted a UFO in his day.
You know, Jimmy, from a very early age, was obsessed with science fiction and doodling, flying saucers and all that. And he never hid the fact in interviews or in conversations that he saw UFOs one time in Maui near a volcano. And he... It was sort of part of his arsenal, and some of the observations show up, like you played All Along the Watchtower from his album Electric Ladyland. I mean, there's a track on that album called House Burning Down where he talks about like a giant boat from space, or there's another album he did, Axis Bold as Love, and there's a tune called Up from the Skies, and he was very influenced by a book from 1957, Philip Jose Farmer's A Night of the Light, where kind of purple haze came from. There's a purplish haze. And even when he arrived in England in 1966 and he ran into a singer-songwriter producer named Kim Fowley, he immediately said to Kim, I have a song called Martian Love Machine, and it's really influenced by Ray Bradbury. So you see the path. It was part of his whole trek.
What a tragedy when we lost that talent, huh?
I have a distinct memory. You and I are the same age, and I'm well aware of the world you come from, of Detroit, doo-wop, Casey Kasem, Motown, and I'm right behind you there. and I was going to a junior college in West LA, and when I heard the news going to class, and I think you probably may feel that same way, his loss hit me like it was when we found out about John F. Kennedy. I can't say it was a death in the family, but it just, the earth stood still, and I knew something important was lost. And here we are 55 years later, and it's more apparent as you travel back in time.
And it was that strange year again of 27 years old that so many great artists have died.
You know, that 27 club that started developing, I don't think anybody predicted this thing. It's like a football game with 777. Like, you want to get to 28, times 4 or something. It just becomes sort of a benchmark, and the media has been really preoccupied with that. But there's no denying that that's a team of people that are all linked together.
You mentioned Detroit, and of course it's my hometown, and very familiar with Motown Records and Berry Gordy Jr., who, my gosh, he's 92 years old. He's going to be 93 years old in November.
Again, I think I've been in this music journalism world for close to half a century. The first few years, I would meet people. I was never really kind of an autograph fan or something. I really was kind of a student of the game and really wanted to know about music and how recordings were done. It took me 5 years politely to be granted an interview with Berry Gordy, because that music of Motown, sure, it's the soundtrack of our lives. We've heard that before. And I was summoned when he put out his autobiography, To Be Loved. And it was just one of those things where they said, Mr. Gordy would like you to come to his home for this interview.
Wow.
Because Berry was aware that I knew who Jackie Wilson was. That's one of your guys, I know that. And he had written songs for Jackie Wilson. And it was one of the few times I wasn't nervous, but I was with somebody. As you're talking to people like Berry Gordy, and this happens when you encounter somebody from the Beatles or interview somebody in the Rolling Stones, you realize their music or their album covers or radio is playing with their catalog at many seminal, life-changing events of your life. And I am talking to Berry Gordy, and I remember he signed his book to me, but I was actually able to ask not just about certain songs of the Supremes and the Temptations. I just got a handle. I was dealing with somebody that I knew changed the world as an entrepreneur, as a music maker. And I know in the case of myself, and I know you coming from Detroit, just realize what that record label and that vision has done for all of us.
Oh, truly remarkable. I mean, didn't he also handle the Jackson 5?
Well, he signed them to Motown Records. They came from Indiana, but as he was expanding his vision out west to Los Angeles and Hollywood, he knew that a different tree of Motown had to be planted, and not groups that came out of doo-wop and that world of Detroit, but a younger demographic and a self-contained group where the group actually played instruments and just not were singers and dancers. And he developed and nurtured them and released them, to our world.
Berry's a genius. I mean, he really is. I mean, when it comes down to it, I think he was one of the most influential musical people in the world, wasn't he?
It didn't take the recent Kennedy honors for us to sort of get that sanction. It was what he accomplished as a music maverick and an independent promoter. Books and films can't capture it because, it's not about a brand and a corporate entity developing and selling records. If you just spend a minute and say Berry Gordy Motown, and then you start thinking about the Four Tops or the roots of it, Harvey and the Moonclothes and Smokey Robinson, and you start thinking of the hundreds of records or the lyrics of some of these songs, they have been at your wedding. They have been at your bar mitzvah. They have been at your graduation. You've heard them at funerals and eulogies. I mean, it is just take the 10 seconds and say Motown almost as a mantra, and then you go, okay. And then if you surrender to it, our lives have been impacted by what he gave us.
So many talented people coming out of Detroit, Harvey, including my dear friend, the late Casey Kasem.
Casey meant a lot to me. I was honored when the Hollywood Reporter, Billboard magazine, asked me to write the tribute and obituary when Casey departed our physical world. After Detroit, he came to Los Angeles in the very, very early 60s and was a mainstay here with such a fantastic voice and a storyteller. And, as a youth in L.A., growing up as a native of Los Angeles and living in Hollywood, I actually danced on things like American Bandstand. I danced on his show Shebang. And so to be on teen shows, I was a lousy dancer, but somehow I got I mean, and I wasn't going to meet girls. I just wanted to hear the music.
You just love the music.
Okay. But there are some voices that make an indelible impression on us. And because I got to know him a bit and wrote a tribute to him, I was so well aware of the impact of him from Detroit, or I think Georgie Woods, and the Detroit world came to Los Angeles through people like Casey, where he would tell us about the origins of Motown and Woodward Avenue and things like that. These were frontiers and territories we never learned about in school, but his voice was our teacher.
I met Casey back in 2002 at a company Christmas party because we syndicated his American Top 40 show. And our network president, who brought Casey into the fold, knew that I was from Detroit, Casey was from Detroit, and knew that I wanted to meet him. So at dinner time for their annual Christmas party, he sits me, Harvey, right next to Casey Kasem. And that's how I met him.
Well, you certainly were reaching for the stars with that one.
Absolutely. I mean, and we stayed friends until he died, and we would meet at a little restaurant not far from the studios every once in a while, and just a great dedicated broadcaster.
I think I've seen both you and him at the Great Greek in Sherman Oaks, by the way.
Yep, you did.
Uh-huh.
It's fantastic. And but what a great talent. And in those days, those DJs made the musician, didn't they?
Well, the DJs were disc jockeys. They weren't. They didn't have 18 different agendas and side businesses and all kinds of things going, which is totally fine. This was a job.
They loved music.
They came out of music. They loved music. They were dictated by music, and they also knew they had some freedom as far as song selection, and then of course they were maybe dictated a bit by programming. But they were the people that were on the front lines, and I'm going back to the 50s and the 60s. They were ushering in the debut recordings and albums or concert events, or I'm sure you know about this, appearances at department stores or record hops and things like that.
Yep.
They were the missionaries bringing us audio messages. Sure, they were exposing product and hoping we would go to buy the records and things like that. But you and I know your audience feels this. It was deeper than that. it was almost like they were ordained or anointed to put in 1 year or 5 years or 10 or 20 years to just bring hope and possibility to us.
Absolutely. I knew the late Russ Reagan, who discovered the Beach Boys.
Oh my God, that's one of my mentors.
What a great story he told me once. When he met the Beach Boys, they were called the Pendletons, which was named after a sweater.
Yes.
And he said, no, that's going to change. And
I wrote Russ's obituary.
Oh, you're kidding.
Too, and I met him.
I know his wife, Cheryl, well. She's a wonderful lady. Harvey Kubernick, he does a great job. For Dan Galante, Tom Danheiser, Lisa Lyon, Lex Lonehood, Sean Ladouceur, Stephanie Smith, Chris Boros, Tim Banal, Ryan Stacy, Ian Punnett, and George Knapp. I'm George Norrie, somewhere out there on Coast to Coast AM. We'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safe, everyone. And welcome back to Coast. George Norrie with you, Scott Wolter with us. Scott, would you go to Mars if they offered you a trip, and what would you be looking for?
Would I go to Mars? That's a really good question. You know, I have to say I don't think I would, because I've got, well, it depends. I mean, if you could time travel there and spend a period of time and then time travel back, I'd consider that. But right now, I just think it would take too much time to go, and I'm not that young of a guy, so yeah, I guess it depends on the parameters. Would I be interested in going? Absolutely. The geology just fascinates me when I look at the photographs that are, that are being transmitted back. It just begs. I just want to get out there and start taking samples and figure out what the rocks are and what the geology is.
What do you think you'd discover? What do you think you'd find there?
Well, I think we would find out that my gut feeling is that Mars seems to be a planet that is farther down the road in its geological history than we are here on Earth. There is signs that there was water. We see evidence of water, of lots of water being
lots
on
of
the planet.
it. Yeah.
And something has made that water disappear or go. Maybe it's below grade within the planet somewhere. But clearly there was a lot of water that interacted, and we can see evidence of that geologically. So it seems to be farther down the road geologically than Earth. But, I don't know. Those are one of the questions I'd love to try to answer.
Scott, what is the story behind Angel K?
Boy, that's a loaded question. So we were talking about the Book of the Wars of the Lord earlier.
Yeah.
And there are basically two big secrets that are revealed in these documents that supposedly don't exist, that have been suppressed and hidden away. One was the feminine aspect of the Godhead that was definitely in the Bible in the past. But there's a very interesting passage in one of the documents, and I'm just going to read this to you, and I want you to answer the question for me, George, because I'm still wondering what they're saying here. It says this: "Then did a silver beast descend from a cloud in the likeness of a great bird, and spat bolts of lightning from its wings into the water, and the horses of the chariot died. Then did a silver beast descend from the clouds with wings like a bird." This is a biblical passage.
It sounds like something extraterrestrial to me.
Me too. And, I ask that question of people because there's a part of me that goes, they can't be talking about that in a biblical document that has been hidden away from the world for 2,000 years. But in fact, that's exactly what I think it says. So I think this whole question about extraterrestrials that's now coming out more and more. Disclosure is happening, and we're hearing about it every single day more and more. It turns out they've been with us the whole time, apparently, according to these biblical documents. And this is something that has been hidden away. And frankly, I think part of the reason, there's two reasons why it's been hidden away. One is the church doesn't want this to come out, because if there's extraterrestrials, a lot of people who are Roman Christians today are going to say, if there's extraterrestrials and other life forms in the universe, what does this mean about our understanding of religion and God and all of that today? I think people are going to question their faith. I think this is part of the reason why this document was hidden away.
Well, one of the things the Catholic Church came out with a statement a few years ago that said that a belief in extraterrestrial life does not negate your belief in God. So they kind of tempered it a little bit with that.
Well, I mean, they can come out with a statement, but that doesn't mean that there's going to be a certain segment of their followers that still aren't going to question it. I happen to agree with that. I mean, I think people can have their faith and their belief in a higher power, and the presence of extraterrestrials doesn't change that. I would agree with that, but I don't know if everybody's going to feel the same way.
That's true. Let's take some calls. Joe in the Bronx. Hey, Joseph, go ahead.
George, how are you?
All well, thanks.
Good. Scott, there was recently a discovery of Knights Templar graves, 800 years old, in Staffordshire, England, at St. Mary's Church. Now, there were markings on the graves. There was a Knights Templar cross and tabernacle, and also one had a sword on it. Can you enlighten us by giving us some more information on this?
Well, yeah, and I saw that article. I know what you're talking about, and I'm not surprised to see that at all. I think part of the problem is, people don't always recognize what some of these signs and symbols are that represent the order. And I saw pictures of the crosses, and I'm not at all surprised to see that Templars were there 800 years ago and died and were honored with beautiful grave slabs. I just led a tour over in Scotland, and we went to a number of places in Scotland that had the exact same symbols on grave slabs. Now, those were known to be Templar graves, but we also saw some grave slabs in some old churchyards that people were not aware of Templars being buried there, and there were. So I think it's sometimes there are places where the symbols are just overlooked on these grave slabs and they don't fully understand what they mean. But in this case, I think those graves have been there the whole time, right? They just weren't recognized as being, members of the order that were buried there. I think it's fantastic. And like everything else, the more you're enlightened, the more you understand what the signs, symbols, and tokens are, the more you're going to recognize them out in the field. And I feel that's, frankly, part of my job, is to educate people about some of these symbols and what they mean. And I think it really adds to people's, it enlightens them, and it just adds more interest and fun and joy to going out to places like graveyards. That's one of the things I enjoy, is going to old graveyards and trying to learn more about the people that are there. And you look at those grave slabs, you'd be surprised what you can learn. It's amazing. And here's a good example of it.
You've never been freaked out in a cemetery, Scotty?
Well, there have been some times when it got close to dark or after dark where I kind of let things creep into my own head. But you know something, George, I got to tell you, when our day comes and they put us in the ground, whether we're cremated or not, I would enjoy having people come around and, be there with us. That's how I would feel about it. I would welcome people to come visit us after we're gone.
Absolutely. John, truck driving in Ohio. Hey, John, thank you for calling.
Morning, guys. I think I got confused. Tom got confused. I wasn't talking about Noah's Ark, but the Ark of the Covenant. And now, what I'm curious about is that this supposedly back at Solomon, it was destroyed, but there's been rumors that it's in Jordan, or that someone's holding it. And I wanted to know what kind of power. I mean, I know we saw the Indiana Jones, but what is the power where that someone would want that, and what kind of power would they gain from that?
Well, and they believe it's in a church in Ethiopia. Go ahead, Scott.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring up the Ark of the Covenant, because in these documents that we have, we're going to be talking more about this, but it's pretty clear in the documents, and it's also well understood within the Templar traditions that I'm involved in. The secret of the Ark of the Covenant isn't where it is. It's how to make one. In other words, there are several arks out there. And the one that you're talking about could be one of 4 known arks that are still in the old world. And that could very well be one of them. Some of the arks that we know existed in the past do still exist and are here in America. And they're hidden here in America. And getting to your question, what is the ark? The ark is a power source. And much like today we have, 5G and 4G systems that run our internet and our grid system and our power grid system, the ancient culture of Atlantis, going back 13,000 years ago, prior to the Younger Dryas catastrophe, the arks were used as a power source, as a worldwide grid system, if you will.
And some people have touched it and they got like electrocuted or something, didn't they?
Well, that's the rumor that only I believe it's the Kohan of the 12 tribes understood how to handle the ark, and it's powered by monoatomic gold and other ingredients, if you will, to set up this convection cell current of energy that is neither that doesn't produce any waste. And once this monoatomic cell begins to go, it produces basically limitless energy. And wouldn't it be great if we could harness that energy today and not be dependent upon oil and fossil fuels that are literally killing us right now? This ancient technology, some people believe, goes back to the extraterrestrials.
Interesting.
And I think there's a sound argument that could be made that maybe that's where this power source came from. We've lost it. But you know what they say about things that have been lost. They can be found again.
Let's go to Brendan in Austin, Texas. Hey, Bren, go ahead.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Scott and George. Did you guys see that India will be televising the moon landing in about 3 hours?
Yes, I heard about that.
Yeah, that's exciting. And thank you again for having such a great guest like Catherine last night. And Scott, I'm loving everything that you're saying tonight. I wanted to say super quick, because you were bringing up the Native Americans earlier. The Edwards Aquifer, where we are, that was a campsite for Native Americans for over 10,000 years. 2 of the tribes that used it were the Karankawa and Tonkawa, which means friend and come together. And when the conquistadors came here, the natives told them that people come from the tip of the north, so like Canada, all the way to here, and the south, so like South America, all the way to here. And as a pilgrimage, they considered it a holy place because the water bubbles up. We have so many springs here. The population of New Braunfels, San Marcos, and Wimberley, which are like 3 cities, had a modern day equivalent population then to now, before the smallpox plague came. That's actually kind of insane.
Well, that's really interesting, and I'm not familiar with that particular site, but I'm going to look into it now that you mentioned it. And I think it's really important that we take a second and really give a shout out to the indigenous people. I mean, around the world, but in North America, what a lot of people don't understand, they've been living in balance with their environment for a lot longer than 10,000 years. And, you know, what happened to the indigenous people is nothing less than genocide. Yet what people don't understand is that they basically had life figured out a long time ago. What they also don't understand is that when the Templars came over here, starting in the mid to late 12th century, just after the Vikings petered out or were wiped out, according to the indigenous people I've talked to, because they basically were jerks. But the Templars operated for over 4 centuries because they bonded with the indigenous people through ritual and strategic intermarriage. But they practiced the same rituals that we practice in Freemasonry, and they respected each other, and that's why the Templars had so much success, much to the chagrin of the Roman Catholic Church prior to contact. That's how the Kensington runestone got to Minnesota in the center of the continent 130 years before Chris, who never set foot on the land that we now call the United States of America. And this whole notion that he discovered America is absolutely ridiculous. And this is part of the history that is now coming up. But make no mistake, the indigenous people know all about this history, yet nobody ever reached out to them. But I reached out to them. And when I met with them in their sacred sweats, and I finally earned the right to ask my questions, they told me all about the Templars. Their blood brothers is what they called them.
They knew all about it, didn't they?
They knew all about it. And why had we never heard this before, George? You tell me.
It's a good question. Catherine in Canada, let's get you in before the break, Kath. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. Scott, I wanted to know your comments on the Shroud of Turin.
Shroud of Turin.
I can tell you about the Shroud of Turin. I just finished filming a 10-episode series with the Grand Master of one of the orders I belong to. His name is Timothy Hogan. He's a fascinating guy. George, if you haven't talked to Tim, you should definitely have him on the show. He's an amazing guy.
Set that up for us, Scotty.
Okay, I can help you with that. Anyway, Tim talks about one of the past Grand Masters of our order, a guy by the name of Leonardo da Vinci.
Wow.
We did a whole episode on this, but Leonardo da Vinci made a deal with the church that he would create a relic for them if in return the Roman Catholic Church would back off on persecuting many of the early Rosicrucian and Knights Templar that were doing good work, the scientists of the time. And so he made this relic for them that is now called the Shroud of Turin.
So you don't think it's authentic?
Well, it's a real shroud. It's got a real image burned into the cloth, but the image is of Leonardo's body. No, the body is a cadaver. The head is Leonardo's face. And if you look, there's a break in the neck between the body and the head, and that's the break between his head and the body of a cadaver.
Are you saying he painted his face on that?
No, he used German lenses and a camera obscura technology. He used alchemy with light to burn the image into the shroud, but it's not of any famous figure other than his face and the body of a cadaver. Wow. But it was a deal that he made with the church, and it was created in the bowels of the Vatican. And we did an episode on this, so stay tuned for it. It'll be out sometime around Christmas time on the Gaia Streaming Network.
Okay, very good. And we do Beyond Belief, as you know, as well, Scott. We'll be back with final calls in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. George Noory back with our final segment with Scott Wolter. Scott, your books are still available. How do people get them? What's the best place?
Well, if they want to get a signed copy, the best place to go is to my HookedX website. That's www.hookedx.com. Spell it out, HOOKEDX.com. And I sign all books bought off the website. Of course, you can get it on Amazon as well. But that's the best place to go, and I think people will enjoy them.
And you mentioned your Gaia show on the Templars. Is that available now?
No, it's not. We just filmed it here about a month ago. Tim Hogan and I, and Sid Goldberg was the producer, and it's a really good 10-episode series. They haven't announced when it's going to premiere, but I suspect it'll probably be around the holidays.
Yeah, they're good people over there. And that's where we do our Beyond Belief TV show every month.
Oh yeah. No, they're really good, and I think people are going to be surprised. I gave away one of the secrets with Da Vinci tonight, but that's okay. For you, George, anything.
Let's move on to Tom in Utica to get us started this segment. Hey, Tom, go ahead. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me on, George. Sir Knight Scott, greetings from Utica Commandery Number 3, Knights Templar, Utica, New York, celebrating 200 years since our founding by DeWitt Clinton.
Nice.
Hey, where's your commandery, your home Masonic commandery located?
Zion Commandery Number 2 in Anoka, Minnesota.
Magnificent, and our greetings to them as well. You're affiliated with several Templar bodies, and what's the difference you find between them? There was one other question that I had. It was kind of a specific. Do you think that the Masonic Templar deferral saying that we're really not directly affiliated with the old Templars, do you think that's a ruse, or do you think that's huh?
Yeah. There's no question that modern Freemasonry evolved directly from medieval Knights Templarism. In fact, our founding fathers, I had mentioned earlier, 53 of the 56 signers were Master Masons. Many of them were also Knights Templar as well. They just didn't tell anybody. So
I'd sure see. I would love to see as complete a list of those Templar signers as possible, because it's very difficult to dig them up. Our grand historian Ron Brown here in New York is doing a tremendous job of research himself, and of course with our research on our 200th, I've uncovered a lot of the later stuff. When I'm talking with people who are interested about Freemasonry and about the Templars, I make it easy for them all, and I refer to our country as the Masonic States of America, which is...
That's right. You hit the nail on the head, brother.
Yeah, well, we've got to get out there and teach people, because it's dissolving, it's diverting so far away that we can't afford to have any schisms between the different bodies with the blacks and the whites. There were with the I forget the name of the Prince Hall lodges, and yes, are coming back in contact and getting communication with us. And when I speak to them or any of the bodies that are not aligned with any particular of our grand lodges, I tell them that, look, this country is headed toward dissolution, but we've got to stay together, because we put it together once, and we're probably going to have to put it together again.
I couldn't agree more, brother. And it starts with us getting our own house in order and understanding our own history, because a lot has changed since the time of our founding fathers, even within the craft. And that's part of what I've been doing, going around speaking at lodges, speaking at commanderies. And it starts with us to understand our own history, and then we need to go out and teach the world, what we're about and how this country was truly founded And it goes back to the medieval Knights Templar, and our founding fathers knew all about it. We've just forgotten it in the 200, almost and 50 years since the founding happened. So, we got work to do, but we can do it. And, people like you spreading the word within the brotherhood is great. And we just got to keep doing it. That's my mission. I'm proud to be a Mason. I'm proud to be a Templar. I'm proud to be an American, and I wanna see us get back to the good things that we were founded upon.
Scott, roughly how many Freemasons are there out there?
Well, and don't quote me for sure on this. I think there's just over 1 million, or 5 million I know around the world, and I think we're close. Don't hold me to these numbers, but about 5 million worldwide, and
not a lot. Really, not a lot.
Not really. After World War II, a lot of guys came back and missed that camaraderie, that brotherhood that they had with their buddies during the war. So there was a big uptick in membership, but those guys are dying off rapidly.
Yeah.
But a lot of young people are joining and becoming Masons because they're looking for some of those answers to the big questions in life. And organized religion is not doing it for a lot of these young people. And a lot of these young people that are looking into Freemasonry, they're interested in the history. They're interested in the esoteric stuff that we have and learning. They want to learn because these young people are sharp. And so we are seeing an uptick. And I think we're going to see more people wanting to learn more about Freemasonry. And I think they'll be glad that they did.
East of the Rockies, in North Carolina we go. Sue's with us. Hello, Sue. Go ahead.
Yes, hello. You mentioned something earlier about Oak Island. Did you say that was in Nova Scotia?
It's near Nova Scotia in Canada.
Oh, because I was looking on my atlas and I could not find it.
Yep. If you look in Mahone Bay, about 50 miles south of Halifax, southwest, you'll see Mahone Bay, and it would be on the northwest side, close to the mainland there.
There is an area, Sue, in North Carolina called Oak Island, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. But that's not the one we're talking about.
No, the one we're talking about is in Nova Scotia. George is right.
What significance did that have?
Well, there's a legend that there was a treasure that was buried there. Many people believe that it was the Knights Templar that buried treasure there. In fact, it was. There was a treasure there, and people have been searching the island trying to find that treasure for about 2 centuries, and they haven't found it yet. And there's a reason. But I'm not going to give that away tonight.
Come on, Scotty.
I can see George is sitting there going, okay, give it to us. I can't do that, George. You wouldn't respect me, would you?
I love you. Let's go to Santa Fe, New Mexico. Michael's with us. Hi, Michael.
Good evening, George and Scott. Thank you for the program tonight. It's fabulous.
Thank you.
I just wanted to let you know that in Flagstaff, Arizona, right behind the Lowell Observatory, in between the Naval Interferometer, is a Vatican Observatory. And word is that was because of a Knights Templar that was put next to Kachina Mountain. And with that, I'll just get off the phone and let you guys go at it.
Well, I'm a little bit confused. You said there was an observatory there and a telescope that belongs to the Vatican, and it was put there by the Knights Templar. Is that what I heard?
I don't think there is an observatory there, is there?
I'm not sure about that.
By the Vatican.
If there is.
I know they have a couple around the planet.
Oh, yeah, for sure they do, yes. But I'm not sure that there's a connection with the Knights Templar there. That seems a little bit dubious to me, but it's something I'm not aware of.
Let's go to Joe in Monterey, California. Hello, Joe.
Thank you for taking my call, George.
Sure thing.
It's a very exciting conversation. There's one or two things that he may want to investigate. One is the Gnostic concept of demiurge, D-E-M-I-U-R-G-E, demiurge. It's like an ego principle. Now, Plato talked about it in the positive, but the Gnostics talk about it in the negative, and he might want to look into that. Also, in King Tut's tomb there was an artifact. It looked like a toy, but it was really a flying machine. As far as the Egyptians were concerned, they had that. Now, the trench, the big trench, that's in question in the United States. The Grand Canyon is very, very deep. It would take them so many years to even dig that deep, maybe centuries. So what would you find if it dug that deep? Well, the Egyptians found something. They came here, and they might have found an entrance to the hollow earth. Now, that's conjecture on my part. I have no real information. But if they did find some kind of entrance to the hollow earth, the government would want to keep people away from that because that's a dangerous discovery, a very, very dangerous discovery. Thank you for taking my call, George.
All right, Joe. Why would that be a dangerous discovery, Scotty? What do you think?
Well, the hollow earth theory is something I goes directly against my geological training and education and understanding. So until I see some type of evidence that is compelling to get me to go down that road, I'm just going to have to say that I don't buy it. The trench thing that he mentioned, I'm not sure what he's talking about. I thought, was he talking about the Grand Canyon or was he talking about something else? That ring a bell for you, George?
And the other trench is the Mariana Trench, right?
Right. Well, that's in the ocean. That's something very.
That's
very
like
different.
that's the deepest part of the ocean, isn't it?
Right. And there are other trenches in the ocean, but those are all formed by plate tectonics, and those are fairly well understood. But I'm not sure what would be down there that would be of interest to this conversation. But I'm not really sure, to be honest, what he was talking about with the trench.
With just about a minute left, Scotty, give us your websites, your books, and have some fun.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you, George, for having me on. You've had me on a number of times over the years, and we always have a good time, so I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
If people want to engage me, I would invite you to go to my blog, which is scottwolteranswers.blogspot.com. And, I mentioned my website where you can check out my books, www.hookdex.com. And, I would encourage people, it seems like they're running reruns of our old show, America Unearthed. I also did many episodes with Peter Stormare on Secrets of the Viking Stone. And then the Gaia series that's coming up, Mysteries of the Knights Templar, with our Grand Master Timothy Hogan, is going to be a great series. And we're pitching a new show with History right now, and we should hear something very soon. So there's a lot of exciting new things that we're working on, and really profound things, information we're going to be bringing forward, which includes the answer to the mystery of Oak Island. But stay tuned, people. There's a lot of really exciting things coming. We live in some really interesting times, profound times. And
We are indeed. Scott, I want you to keep doing the good work and keep in touch with us. For Dan Galante, Tom Danheiser, Lisa Lyon, Lex Lonehood, Sean Ladesor, Stephanie Smith, Chris Burrows, Tim Banal, Ian Punnett, and George Knapp, I'm George Norrie, somewhere out there on Coast to Coast AM. We'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safe, everyone. And welcome back to Coast, George Norrie with Jason Quitt. Jason, you were talking a little bit about the pyramids. Exactly why do you think they were constructed?
I think that they had multiple reasons, but I believe from everything that I've been shown is that they are solar symbolism. A pyramid is solar symbolism, especially the ones in Giza. And they were constructed as a calendar to map the stars and the sun to show the cycles of time. It's a gigantic megalithic clock. And that's just one dimension of what the pyramids are, in my opinion. How they were built, I couldn't tell you. That still boggles my mind.
Oh, it is truly remarkable. I'm just not sure, 100,000 Egyptians tucked those boulders and those huge blocks up and formed the pyramids. I don't think they did it that way.
The only thing I could think of is they had some type of acoustic technology that could levitate or help reduce the mass so they could move them and lift them.
Yeah, they had a secret, to be sure. Now, this code that you have discovered tells us what?
It tells us that the most important thing that these mystics looked into, or one of the most important things, was cycles of time. And that there was a reflection of the stars and the sun that could be seen on planet Earth. But most importantly, it was a reflection of the human body. And I think this is the biggest connection to all of this, is that the code is within the physical human body. And the way that ancient people used to measure the sun was they would use their physical bodies as the tool of measurement, because the body follows the fundamental sacred geometry of the universe. It grows with very specific proportions. So when you're looking at the sun in the sky, if you outstretch your arm in front of you and you hold your hand up to the horizon and the sun, from your eye, from your perspective, to your hand, to the sky and the sun, equals 15 degrees, 1 hour of time. So the body was first the measuring tool of the heavens. And the planets and the stars they saw as a reflection within the human body that had an influence and effect on the human body. And even, Leonardo da Vinci again, Vitruvius Man, his famous illustration of the human body in the circle and the square, showing the sacred proportions. And those proportions match the ratios that we find in these solar codes. So I think when it really comes down to it, the most important understanding of what this code means is that we are a reflection of the universe. We are a reflection of the cycle of time, and all of this information is encoded within our physical bodies. And by using our physical bodies as the measuring stick, the measuring tool, we can measure the cosmos with our arms, our hands, our fingers, our legs, and our feet. And this is also where the measuring system of the Egyptians come from. When you think of the cubit system is the measurement from the bottom of your elbow to the top or the tip of your middle finger. And the average of that is about 20.5 inches. And then the royal cubit adds 4 finger lengths above that. So the ancient Egyptian measuring system was based, again, on the arm and the hand, and it's the same thing as the eye looking at the hand to the sun. And if you remember, there's a very popular symbol that's found all over the planet. They call it the Hamsa, where it's an illustration of the hand, the open palm hand, with an eye in the center of the palm. And if you think about that, and what I'm saying to you is that if you take your hand and you take your eye with your outstretched arm and look directly at your palm, the eye to the palm, to the sun, you would get the measurement of time and space.
They were brilliant, weren't they, Jason?
Absolutely, but they were so smart that when I'm going through this, even like the native communities in America, like Chaco Canyon, these sun daggers, these petroglyphs that they designed, like, it boggles my mind. I have no idea how they figured it out to be so precisely perfect that they could measure where the sun would be, where the shadow would be cast, and where the sun would shine in a very specific point. It's unbelievably precise. So they were geniuses, and our modern mind, you know, when we look back, it's like we know they worshiped the sun, but it wasn't a worship of the sun. It was a science. They knew how to map the stars. They knew how to use it to navigate. And, you know, for us, we look at our watch, or today we look at our iPhones to get the time. Back then, there wasn't anything like that. How did they know what day it was? How did they know what month it was?
Exactly.
They were so smart. They can build monuments that they can just look up at the monument, see where the sun is in perspective to the monument, and know exactly what day it is. We don't have that mindset today. We can't see that.
Let's go to the phones for you. Let's start with first-time caller Ruth in Gurnee, Illinois. Hi, Ruth. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Mr. Miller. I'm so glad to get through to you with such an important conversation I've tried hundreds of times, wondering what people can get through over and over. We have a gold pyramid in Gurnee, Illinois, next to Great America.
Yep.
But your song prior about having known somebody and didn't know where or when, I knew George Armstrong Custer in another the Indian chief in this life who came back as a woman. He also married the daughter of an Indian chief whose name in Indian means blame the woman. I believe it's possible that she had a child, a boy. He did not have any children with Libby Custer. They were soulmates. They were both met in Monroe, Michigan, and he went on to become a West Point cadet and officer, and their graves are in New York at West Point. So the times that I had met him, but before I say it, I want to ask the guest, does he know why the Indians called him Son of the Morning Star? I think it is significantly important. The first time I saw him was in about 1957. I was about 9 or 10 years old at the Museum of Science and Industry.
What an incredible gift you possess. What do you think of that, Jason?
Well, the name is definitely significant. The morning star is something that these astronomers, these shamans would look at and wait at very specific times. The morning star could be Venus, or it could be Sirius. It could be, you know, there was many types of stars or planets that was called the morning star. It is the star or the light in the sky that comes up above the horizon right as the sun rises. And this was, it was almost like the light of the new world, basically, directly above the horizon to bring in the new sun of the day. Very sacred ceremony that many cultures around the world would look at.
Are you still attempting astral projection, Jason?
Yeah, it doesn't happen as much as it did about 20 years ago, but usually it happens around new moons, full moons. It just happens more naturally.
Let's go to Joe in Monterey, California. Hello, Joseph. Go ahead.
Thank you for taking my call, George.
Sure, Joe.
I was wondering if your guest has ever stood next to an obelisk. They have a certain phenomenon or shall I say, a natural occurrence in physics, where if you stand on one side to it, you can feel the energy going through you, and on the other side, you can feel it leaving you. Sacred geometry and energy. The pyramids are like solar collectors. They collect energy. But you know, George, you know about antennas. The shape of the antenna will dictate the wave. You capture the wave. Well, these pyramids were also mystery schools. They held mystery schools and teachings inside the pyramid. And that probably allowed them to travel out of the body. More importantly, allowed them to receive information from the heavens as well. And also, some of the pyramids had channels of water, like tunnels underneath, and they said, oh, there was like tunnels of water in it. Well, when water flows underground around something, it will enervate you. It will take your energy away. And when it doesn't flow, you can get energy. So they use this around the pyramids, from what I was told, it's like a safeguard that nobody would go near the pyramids because they would feel weak. And some people felt that the pyramids might have been a kind of weather control. I think Tesla also experimented with pyramids and sacred geometry. And a further little tidbit, when I was initiated into the Melchizedek, when I was ordained, we did our ordination in New York City, the Mason headquarters, you know, the Mason Hall in New York City, talk about symbolism.
Shriner.
Thank you for taking my call, George.
Okay, Joseph. Okay, you want to react to any of that, Jace?
Yeah, I've heard all of those things, and yes, even I've heard about going into the chambers to leave your body. It was a way of traveling to the stars using the pyramid. Also, the obelisk. Remember, it's granite, and granite is made of quartz. So when you take this huge quartz granite obelisk and you put it up on the earth, just the sheer weight of it in that spot is going to create a piezoelectric field, which will move electrons like an oscillation. So there is a phenomenon around pyramids and obelisks, and this is why they're so important, and they're putting them around the world. But the piezoelectricity is amplified by the solar radiation. So it is like an antenna and receiver, just as the caller said.
Next up, we've got Sandy in Connecticut. Welcome to the show. Hi, Sandy.
Hello. I'm so happy that I'm able to speak to Jason. I think I could listen to him every night of the week. I'd like to relay some things that he's been speaking about, going back, first of all, 12 years ago, 17 years ago, and the present time. About 12 years ago, it goes back when I was divorced, and it had to do with my mother-in-law. And I wanted to tell my ex-husband things before I would die. I was 65 years old at the time. And I was dreaming. I was asleep. And I woke up, but it was strange because I was speaking very fluently, going through all the things that she had done. And I was hearing it. It was like my body was in two parts. It reminds me of when Jason spoke in the beginning about sleep paralysis, which I had never heard about, but I had that experience, and I really haven't told anybody about it because it seems, many things I'll share, but it seems impossible that you could be awake listening to yourself speak. And the speaking was coming like from my mind. I was listening, but it wasn't that I was talking and listening to myself, not knowing that I was talking.
Well, you had a classic case of sleep paralysis, Sandy. Don't you think, Jason?
Absolutely. And there is a part of us, you can call it a superconscious or subconscious part of us, that in our dream state can communicate with us. So sometimes in a lucid dream situation, I would stop, and instead of trying to control the dream like most people, I'll just tune into myself at that specific time and start asking questions to myself, and I'll hear a voice giving me the answers in the dream. And I think this is also how Edgar Casey also started to channel through his sleep.
And Tom's got text and tweets. Tom, what do you have for Jason? Anything out there? Anything coming in? Let's go to Emil in Toronto. Welcome to the show. Go ahead, Emil.
Hi, how are you both? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I was wondering, I've been meditating for a number of years now, and since about 2020, I've noticed that I've been uncontrollably rocking back and forth while meditating. Is this a part of a normal thing? Sorry, I'm a bit nervous.
Oh, no, you're doing fine. Is that normal, Jason?
Actually, many people experience that. I had a couple close friends that would meditate and they would shake. Or when they're going through a healing, whenever they receive energy healing, their body will shake. And for me, seeing that is normal. It's a way of how the body integrates and moves energy. Some people go a little deeper with that and say it has to do with the nervous system. And the nervous system is kind of unraveling energy through the body and allowing energy to move through. Me personally, it doesn't happen to me in that way, but I've seen many people.
Do you use these techniques, Jason, to do healing?
Yes, but it's not in that way. I would use the techniques to build my energy system. And as you build the energy system, you have more access to, let's say, the connection of energy moving through you or the cultivation of energy that you've built. And then as you do energy healing or shamanic work, you connect to that source. And this is what we were talking about earlier, where I said, my energy was Swiss cheese. I had to heal it because if I had holes or my energy was weak, my energy can be pulled and influenced very easily, and that is not good. But as I do Qigong, as I do the Egyptian postures and meditate, I'm healing the energetic structure around me, so I'm more capable of being in that flow of energy. So for me, Qigong is basically the foundation of healing because it rebuilds the energy system to allow the energy to move through you.
Jason, give out your website if you would, sir.
Sure. My website is thecrystalsun.com, and you could also find my books on Amazon just by typing in Jason Quit.
I saw the Jeff Bezos story yesterday and how he started. The books just took off.
It gives an opportunity for self-publishers like myself to work on a book and then put it out right directly to an audience on Amazon.
And get it sold, too. You do a great job, Jason. We're going to come back and take final calls with you in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. And welcome back to Coast. George Noory with Jason Quit as we talk about his remarkable work. What projects are you working on now, Jason?
I'm going to...
There you go.
Hello?
Go ahead, Jason.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to be working on a new book, the second part of the Egyptian Postures book. And I am also going to Stairway to the Stars in Las Vegas coming up November 10th, 11th, and 12th to talk about astrogenesis.
Finding that people are getting...
And I've been talking about this for at least a decade now, if not more, and it just keeps going and going. And what I find fascinating is that the topics keep getting richer. So what I'm learning today is like light years ahead of what has been talked about 10 years ago. So it's really an amazing community.
That's great. Tom's ready with a text and tweet Jace, what do you got, Tom?
Jace, this is from Carrie in West Virginia, and she's how does Göbekli Tepe and astrogenesis relate to an ice age, or do they?
Well, the way that it relates is that the artifacts and the sites are found when the ice age starts melting. So at the end of the ice age and the first civilizations, you start to get Göbekli Tepe and the Neolithic age. So how does it relate? It just shows you that as the ice receded, cultures began to develop more, and this is where we start to find explosive civilization around the planet.
Back to the calls east of the Rockies. Brian in Indianapolis. Hey, Brian, go ahead.
Hey, George, I got the daily double today. I can't believe it.
Yes, you did.
I had to redial 92 times to get through today.
That happens.
Hey, listen, real quick. They called George Armstrong Custer the son of the Morning Star. The Native Americans called him that because he attacked the Native American villages in the pre-dawn hours. That's why they did that. That's why they called him that. So, hey, listen, what a great topic, Jason. And I got to thinking, you were talking about all these out-of-the-body experiences that you had. So I got to thinking, when you do this, I got 3 questions, and I'll take the answer off here. When you do this, do you have like a spirit guide that goes with you, or are you by yourself? That got me thinking, do you consider yourself a time traveler when you do this because you do it so often? And I don't know, I've talked with Tommy, do you see stuff, like George always asks, do you see stuff that could be or will be? And George, I'll see you in Columbus. We're going to have some good conversation.
Okay, Brian, look forward to that. Let's start with the second question about time traveling. You wrote a book about the John Titor, the time traveler, a couple of years ago, didn't you?
I did, and that unraveled very quickly. I that type of time travel, the John Titor time travel for me is a hoax. And I kind of figured that out the hard way. And I know a lot of people get angry at me for saying that, but the time travel that I do talk about that I would consider to be very much real is the out-of-body time travel. Because when you leave your body, you're leaving time and space. So you can jump different timelines. Mostly you go back to past lives, so you get to relive or see things over again. And then you have the very rare times where you're propelled into the future, and it's very confusing and also very frightening. So yes, I would consider myself an astral time traveler.
Do you have assist you at all on anything?
I believe that they're always there. And it's very strange because sometimes when you're traveling, let's say like you're flying through the air or through space, wherever you're going, it's like they're behind you and they have a hand on your shoulder and they speak to you telepathically. So you can like ask questions in your mind and you receive the answers in your mind, but you can feel the presence of them behind you and you have the hand on your shoulder. And then sometimes when you're just out of your body, there's different beings that will come to your bedside to talk to you. And I consider those to be guides or helpers or beings like that.
And of course, my favorite slogans are these things that will be or could be when you talk about futuristic events. What do you think about those?
I always say they're potentials, or there are timelines that have played out. So it may be like an echo of some other timeline, not necessarily here. So when I see things, I don't really believe that what I'm seeing will happen here, but I'm open to the possibility that it may happen here. So In my mind, it's happened somewhere else, and it's for us a teaching of what could be possible down the road.
Let's go to Bob in New York. Hey, Robert, go ahead.
Yes, hello. When I Google the picture of the Last Supper, it appears one of the 12 disciples that the table, the one to the left appears to be a woman. Is that a woman? That person a woman? If so, which of the 12 apostles is missing? And also, in the symbolism, if I look at the entire picture, I see the 3 windows in the back. Is that representing the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit? And what other symbolism is there? Thank you for the information.
Are you familiar with the Last Supper at all, Jason?
I am, and I'll start with the windows. It's the 3 windows, which is the 3 windows of the solstice and equinox. The windows, they're very ancient. They're in ancient structures all over the world. The 3 windows are designed so that the sun will enter the center window during the equinox, and the 2 windows on the sides are the solstice. The sun will enter through those windows. As for the apostles, yes, I believe that apostle is supposed to be John the Baptist, but in this painting, so they say,
could it have been Mary Magdalene?
Yes, and you can see there's another apostle next to them, and their hand is pointing or touching the Adam's apple.
Ah, that's intriguing.
So it's showing you there is no Adam's apple who could be Mary.
Next up, let's go to John in New Jersey. John, let's get you in here. Go ahead.
All right. We know that in the pyramids, they used this tar-like substance or asphalt for mortar. The pyramids. You see all these pictures of these workers carrying these jars, and pouring liquid substance in front of the blocks. I have a theory that they took ships and they took jars to Saudi Arabia and got crude oil and brought it back along with the tar for the mortar, and they poured it and they slid the bricks. But I don't know how long it takes for the tar, the asphalt, and the crude oil to break down.
What do you think of that as a possibility, Jason?
All possibilities are open. I haven't heard that one specifically, but like I said, I don't have an answer to how they built those pyramids. It's just an incredible wonder.
Somehow I think sound resonance had something to do with it.
That is the most interesting possibility of all of it.
Let's go to Michael in Santa Fe, New Mexico now. Michael, take it away.
Hello, George and Jason. Thank you very much. It's fascinating. I had a very question I wanted to ask. My grandparents had a farm in upstate New York near Cornwall on the Hudson, and I was actually chief of police up there. And there was night after night, I'd look out the window, and as I was dreaming, I would imagine that I was flying out the window. And I would fly around, and then I would go different places. And I kept returning to this cemetery in Windsor, New York. And it was kind of weirding me out, so I had a ball bearing in my pocket. It was about almost an inch and a half diameter. The same thing happened that night. I flew out the window. I go to the cemetery. There's this opening, this very tall, it was someone's monument. But in the corner of the grass, I put the ball bearing, and then I flew back home and went to sleep. I was probably 7 or 8 years old. And the next morning I got up, went to the graveyard, and I peeled up this piece of rock where I put the ball bearing. And sure enough, there it was. I'd like to ask both of you, Jason, what do you think of that?
I just got chills in my body.
Me too.
That's an amazing story. Like, I as well had a lot of similar experiences of, going to the park behind my house as a child, like flying through the window. But for me, that was just dreams. What you're describing is
an actual event,
much more. Yeah, and to say that it was buried, that to me says that when you traveled, you went back in the past and placed that there.
Time travel, Jason, is amazing.
Yeah.
Truly remarkable. Thank you for that call. And let's go next to Steve in Cicero, Illinois. Go ahead, Stephen.
Yeah, I had something interesting to add to understanding that the ancient people knew a lot more about science than we knew.
Oh, yeah, you're right about that.
Okay, I'll give you an example. In the mythology of Hercules' trials, he goes to Atlas to find the golden apples. So, to cut the story quickly, why would Atlas know what the golden apples were? Well, Atlas protects the Earth. And what does an apple have to do with the Earth? It's the shape of the magnetosphere, and it's powered by heavy metals within the Earth, like gold and iron. That meant that back then they knew what the magnetosphere was. It's like a mnemonic.
How did they know these things, Jason? Did somebody tell them?
It's very possible that they had some type of connection to advanced consciousness.
What about ETs?
ET channeling, or they were just advanced. They were here for a very long time before us. And, the way I look at these things, like Hercules is allegorical. And it talks about the golden apples, are basically could be looked at as stars. The dragon or the serpent that is around the tree could be Draco in the northern star region. And the tree is the Axis Mundi. So the golden apple could be the pole star, and as we go through precession, the pole star changes, and that's why there's many golden apples, because we have many different pole stars over the ages.
How many books have you written now, Jason? I've got at least 4 here.
Right now, publicly, that I'm selling, I have 2 out right now, and I think I've written I think you have all my books. I have 4 that I've written. But I'm updating and getting better at writing now. So hopefully there will be a 3rd book for sale within the year.
Just keep doing what you're doing and keep in touch with us, will you please?
Of course I will, George.
All right, Jason Quinn, his website linked up at coasttocoastam.com. His latest book is called Astral Genesis, Astrological Keys to the Gods. For Dan Galante, Tom Danheiser, Lisa Lyon, Lex Lowenhood, Sean Ladesseur, Stephanie Smith, Chris Burrows, Tim Binal, George Napanee, Penna. I'm George Norrie, somewhere out there on Coast to Coast AM. We'll see you on our next edition. Until then, be safer.
At our house, whenever we're scrolling for a movie on, say, Netflix or Amazon or some other streamer, and I come across a description that mentions Moors, I take a closer look. I mean, anything spooky lands, ancient places of lore and legend, I'm there. Paul Sinclair's film, Wolflands, is a documentary, though, and it has all of that stuff. It has moors and cliffs and ancient forest and ancient legends and curses, shapeshifters, were creatures, terrifying encounters, glowing eyes, you name it. Beyond just scaring the pants off of people, though, the beasts that roam Wolflands can do some serious damage and have done so. More on that when we return. Paul Sinclair, I imagine it's one thing to be sitting at home in a well-lit room listening to this and saying, there's no such thing as werewolves or wolfmen or dogmen, anything like that. It's another thing to be out there in the dark forest at night by yourself in the situations that you document in your film. There's a case that you have of a guy, a mountain biker. You'd already told us the story about somebody who was driving out there, and this thing came up on side and ran with the car for a while. This guy's biking. He's on a bike, and something huge and invisible starts running alongside him. Tell us that story.
Yeah, that's correct. This guy's called Sam, and he'd gone on a 28-mile mountain bike ride, George, across the moors, and he ended up coming home. He said he'd left it a little bit late, and he ended up entering the forest, or the heavily wooded area of what's called Langdale End, quite late. He said it was dark. He said all that you could see was the in front of him. No fear, because he'd never experienced anything like this before. As most of the witnesses, they've not gone looking for this. In fact, everybody in Wolflands, the phenomena has come to them. So he's familiar with what's out there, as in deer and fox and badger, because that's about the only thing that you're going to encounter in the forests of the United Kingdom and the woodlands. Riding along, it's dark, as I've said, and suddenly something burst out of the woodland on it. I think he said on his left-hand side, and startled him, obviously. And it's heavy, and it's crushing and crashing through the undergrowth at the side of him. And he's looking to his left. He keeps looking, and can't see what this is. He can hear it, and it's very close. And as he says in the documentary, I'm familiar with deer and how they react, and so and I'm getting more and more anxious. I speed up, and whatever this is speeds up with me. I don't know the exact time span, but in the end he screams and swears at whatever it is that's pacing him in the forest, and it instantly stops. Doesn't divert and go into the forest. Whatever it does, it stops on a dime. Stopped. He carries on cycling, reaches his car. He's got a bike rack on the back of the car, and he's just in blind panic. I mean, he said he dropped his keys at one point. He's just that frightened, looking behind him. Gets the feeling that whatever it is still watching him, and obviously gets his bike on his car and speeds away into the night. But interestingly, George, Langdale End, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's once again the Forge Valley, very close to all these other locations. Hackness, Broxer Forest, Harwood-Dale, where we've got reports, and where the gamekeeper had his report was about 7 miles away. But interestingly, I spoke to a rock angler of all things, because the coast is not far away. It's only about 6 or 7 miles away as the crow flies. Not even that, probably, in some areas, as if the land weaves in and out. But he put me in touch with a guy who lived down Langdale End, because he told this rock angler while they were fishing one day, he believed that there was a bear, of all things, that had been reported in the ravine at Langdale End. And it's common knowledge that walkers, over years, I don't mean like every week, I mean over a period of years, have stopped tractors, ran over to people in fields and said, we've just seen a large animal, we think it was a bear. Now, what's interesting also is that Langdale End leads to that ravine where those 3 guys got trapped in the night in 2018. So once again, George, location is key.
Isn't there some kind of burial mounds or something there? I think you interviewed this guy next to this main burial mound. Who's buried out there? How old is that?
These are mostly Neolithic earthworks, and yeah, that's correct. I mean, I'll jump to those, what you're on about, but we've got another report that's never been talked about near and in nearby forest, and that's near burial mounds called the Three Tremblers. Nobody seems to be able to decipher why it's called. These mounds are called that. But jumping back to that one, yes, they're very close to burial mounds and earthworks, and you've got what's called Wolf Howe, which the Howe is a burial mound or a tumuli. You've got Wolf Howe Low, Wolf Howe High. Just, I suppose these are the elevations of these things. But interestingly, very close to where he had his encounter with this thing that paced him, you've got a place called Moor Rig. Now, I established earlier, if anybody picked up on it, that a rig is an outcrop of stone, a rocky area. But what I found fascinating was the word moor, because it's not just spelled M-O-R-E, it's spelled M-A-R, as in the moor. And it has connotations and signifies Norse. There's a huge Norse presence, and when we go to the Norse presence, we think of Fenrir, the Viking hound that was said to have brought about the end of the world in the Viking, what would have been essentially the Viking Bible, Ragnarok, where Fenrir brought about the end of the world.
Yeah, that wolf is the son of Loki, I think, right?
That's correct. So we've got this place there called Morrig. The Moor is the gaping jaws of a beast, an animal, and we've got Wolf Howe very close to it. And there's another area, probably about half a mile away from Morrig, called Warsman's Head. Now, in Norse, the Viking terminology, the warg is a wolf.
Yeah, that's right out of Lord of the Rings. That's Tolkien stuff, warg, right?
Yeah, so, and you know, Tolkien obviously didn't create these names. He'd done his research and realised that the warg, going back much further than Tolkien, is a wolf when we're talking about Viking terminology. So we've only got to swap one letter, and Warsman's Head becomes Wolfman's Head.
Wow.
Which is, we know they're only plays on words, George, but it's fascinating. There's so many clues there. And, you know, yeah, Warsman's Head, Morrig, everything, the Broxa Forest, all the ingredients for the strangeness seem to be present in these areas.
I want to touch on real serious harm that has erupted in that area, animal mutilations, and then you take it a step further to look at people that have disappeared and possible human mutilations. Is it related to these creatures, these 7-foot tall wolf people?
It would be wrong of me to say yes, they are, but equally so. I think they've got to be included in these accounts because these things have happened in the locations that are very close proximity to where the documentary has been made. And we'll jump to what you spoke about in a moment, George, just like the missing people of Bempton, which is my main area of research. You know, it would be wrong of me to say that they've gone missing and they're somehow involved in some kind of UFO encounter or alien abduction encounter, because I've no proof of that, but I've documented in the first Truth Proof book, because they've gone missing in highly unusual circumstances in an area where things of a highly unusual nature take place. So yeah, we've got Langdale Forest, which is very close to Broxa, very close to all these other areas. And back in the 1990s, there was a researcher, I'm not sure if you ever got the chance to speak to him, George, you may have done, called Tony Dodd. He was a retired police. Yeah. Well, I did a bit of work with Tony on a lightning that crashed off the north of Bempton, actually, Lightning XS 894 on September the 8th, 1970. I found lots of new information about that Tony didn't know, and we worked together on that. But jumping to this, Tony was researching back in the mid to late 1990s Dalby Forest, where he was looking into reports of strange creatures, strange animals that have been seen. The chupacabra, I think I pronounced that right, of a Georgian.
Yes.
And another thing, animal mutilations. I think they'd found donkeys, they'd found fox, badger, sheep. Nothing any different to what I've been finding in 2017 to 2019 on and around the cliff tops of Bempton. But more macabre was the fact that Tony documented bodies that were found in a certain field in Dalby Forest. Because there are clearings, there are meadows. The authorities, so I'm informed, told the general public at large that these were mannequins that had been placed in the field. Over a period, they were finding one at a time. I mean, for my money, who's going to take a shot mannequin deep into a forest and leave it in a field for somebody to find? So that's what Tony was documenting. And what's interesting, if this is true, and I also need to add that I've got more information on this, that it'll probably be something for another documentary, but we've identified the field. I have the name of the field. I've also been told that this area now has to be closed off to the public occasionally. And I don't mean like they close it off with some tape. All access is stopped to the public, because these forests are more. You can walk about them. And obviously not many people stray off the forestry paths because they're very deep. But I've just got this
suddenly got this new facing up on, and I don't find any what's the word, any excitement in talking about missing people, and because it's not entertainment, George, it's very serious in my eyes, because it's someone's loved one, it's someone's son, husband, wife, or whatever. But I don't think we'd be doing these cases justice if we didn't document them. I think we've just got to be careful that we don't place them or attach them to any part of the phenomena, because we've no proof of that. I think all we can say is these things have happened in areas where things of other high strangeness take place. So, interestingly, Tony's working in these forests, and is working with a witness who he calls Cedar. Now, we think we've identified Cedar now, and we're going back to the 1990s, early 2000s. Cedar may not be with us anymore, let's face it. And I think through the gamekeeper who appears in Wolflands, we've identified Cedar. But what a shame, George, because I know the listeners to your show won't know the extent of the gamekeeper's